Jake Paul's favorite.
He's a favorite, yeah. Well, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good boxer. He's a very good boxer. Like, he's a legitimate professional boxer. He fought Tommy Fury.
I don't not even call it like as a fight.
Right.
You know, it's an event for me.
We're probably going to be
every time.
This guy is a real boxer, so it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
Joe Rogan continues to show support for Jake Paul, calling him a real boxer and acknowledging his growth in the sport, especially after his performance against Tommy Fury. On the other hand, Canelo Alvarez offers a more dismissive take, stating that this matchup feels more like an event than a true boxing contest. Their contrasting opinions highlight the ongoing debate about Jake's place in the professional boxing world.
Jake Paul's favorite.
He's a favorite, yeah. Well, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good boxer. He's a very good boxer. Like, he's a legitimate professional boxer. He fought Tommy Fury, who's also a legitimate professional boxer, a real good one. He's Tyson Fury's younger brother, and he lost a close decision, but it was a good fight, a real good fight against a good fighter. He can fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul has long aimed to be accepted by traditional boxing audiences. His desire to gain validation from seasoned critics and fighters is clear in his choice of opponents. However, this fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. may not deliver the financial impact he's expecting. The novelty of Jake's rise in boxing has worn off for many, and unless the bout delivers something extraordinary, it might not attract the blockbuster numbers he has previously seen. While hardcore fans might tune in for the legacy and stakes, the broader audience seems harder to convince this time.
I like it. He was a little listless. He can get listless, but he's big. He's schooled in boxing.
It just does nothing for me.
Yeah, it is a challenge though. It's a legit challenge, right? He's probably
He got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped by Anderson Silva. Jake's already beat Anderson Silva, so it's like
if he shows up for the fight, if he's really training, he's fairly tough. How old is he now?
39.
Oh wow,
he's 40.
Oh wow.
I don't think that one's gonna get big numbers. It's just like, all right, it's
actually
not a good next step. It's almost like he's going backwards.
But
now.
wouldn't you say it's a good challenge for him?
No,
he's gonna beat him.
Yes. No, it's not a good challenge because he already got his ass whooped by Anderson. You know, it doesn't do much. I guess it keeps Jake active, and it's a boxer.
Yeah.
But the boxing, you're still gonna get validation from the boxing community, which is what he wants. It keeps him busy, I guess. So that's good.
Oscar de la Hoya believes this fight is not just hype. According to him, Julio is training with the intention of making a statement. De la Hoya is convinced this bout will be more competitive than many expect. With Chavez Jr.'s heritage and experience, and Jake's loud reputation, the matchup brings genuine tension. De la Hoya's remarks suggest that Jake might be walking into his toughest bout yet, a moment boxing purists have waited for. It's not just about spectacle anymore. It's about whether Jake can truly survive against a legacy fighter fighting with purpose.
The expectations
A lot of
and
pressure,
then, the pressure and, he got involved with drugs and this and that. And, he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good. And I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's going to knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has, it's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Canelo Alvarez has not viewed Jake as a serious boxer. Instead, he gives credit to Jake's business skills and ability to draw attention. Canelo has publicly dismissed the idea of fighting Jake in a competitive match. Despite the buzz surrounding their potential clash in the past, he sees Jake more as a promotional asset than a technical rival, emphasizing the entertainment side of these matchups over actual skill-based competition. The respect is for Jake's marketing, not his ring prowess.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul is officially off. Here, I'll get out of the way so you can see the off. But this actually makes sense to me because the owner of Ring Magazine, Turki Al Sheikh, he posted a very cryptic photo on Instagram about an hour ago, and the caption reads, "Don't mess with the lion. 4 fights for Canelo with Riyadh season, the deal is done. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Fear the lion, not the jungle. And look who the first comment is. Canelo. Let's go, brother. This is one of the few times Canelo has publicly been on good terms with Turki Al-Sheikh. But boy, from the Terrence fight being off to now the Jake Paul fight being off, this has been a wild couple of last few days for the face of boxing. Wait, which one of these two is the face of boxing? I'm just kidding, it's Jake Paul, obviously. Just kidding, it's Canelo! But since it looks like Canelo is now under contract with Turki Al-Sheikh, the chances of Canelo ever fighting Jake Paul have lowered significantly. Because no offense to Jake Paul, from what I've heard, Turki Al-Sheikh doesn't want to associate himself with the kind of boxing that Jake Paul does. Any more updates that happen with this, I'll be sure to do my best to fill you in. As always, thanks for watching.
Canelo has faced Julio. Although Julio is no longer in his prime and has faced challenges like rehab and retirement, Jake sees this as an opportunity to compare himself to one of the sport's greatest. While context matters, Julio today is not the same fighter he was during Canelo's era. Jake still hopes the comparison will boost his credibility. In a recent interview,
able to fight, and he's taking this far more serious, and he's not struggling with addiction issues like he has for so long in his pro career. This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio Cesar Chavez. But with 60 wins under his belt, if there is still any of that muscle memory left, there's still any go left in his body, because again, I hate to keep referring to it, doing drugs or having addiction issues does take its toll on your body, and sometimes it isn't recoverable, especially as you're going up in weight. Julio Cesar Chavez is not a normal cruiserweight, so he's going to be moving up as he gets older. How does that entail what he's going to do in this fight? I don't know, but I'll tell you, I watched him ringside against Uriah Hall, and it wasn't an impressive performance when he beat Uriah Hall in a 6-round fight. Honestly, when I watched the fight back, it looked like the only reason he beat Uriah Hall in that fight was because Uriah, like most MMA fighters, when they come to boxing, don't take credence of the rule set, right? They get hit with a ton of shots that don't hurt them, but also they're getting hit with shots that are scoring against them. Uriah Hall didn't look overwhelmed in that fight at all. In fact, he looked like he was in the fight with Chavez Jr. And that in its own right is pretty damning, because while he won the fight, that was Uriah Hall's first boxing match ever. And Uriah was not a young guy at that point either. The point I'm making with all this is I get what Jake is doing here, and fair play to him. Again, you do have to remember Jake didn't have an amateur career.
Canelo laughed off the possibility of fighting Jake Paul, joking that he might consider it when he turns 50. This comment reflects how unseriously he takes Jake as a contender. To Canelo, the idea of stepping into the ring with a YouTuber turned boxer is absurd. It's a jab at Jake's reputation in the sport and a clear indication that Canelo views Jake's opponents, many of them aging legends, as an easy path to headlines, not legacy.
Would you ever entertain a Jake Paul fight?
Not right now. Let's see later when I have like a 50 years old.
Despite his sarcasm, Canelo hinted that he might entertain an exhibition fight with Jake Paul after retiring from professional boxing. While this wouldn't be a competitive match, it could still draw significant attention due to their names. For Jake, even an exhibition against Canelo would be a dream come true in terms of visibility. It's another example of how Jake's presence in the sport is blurring the lines between entertainment and athletic competition.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business-wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I'll do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they want to watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. poses a threat that Jake Paul has yet to face. Unlike past matchups with MMA fighters or exhibition settings like Mike Tyson's bout, this fight carries real consequences. Julio's power, particularly his left hook, is still respected in boxing circles. He's not just entering the ring for show, he wants to prove something. If Jake slips up even once, Julio has the tools to make him pay and potentially end the fight with one decisive shot.
It could happen. This dude. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust Chavez. You're nothing like your daddy.
Yo, you just alienated. You say, I don't trust that guy.
I don't. It's like, bro, I don't trust you, man. We seen too much of that quitting you.
He's got the quirky jerk, the ugly stuff that'll get you by.
Chavez?
Yeah.
He still has a left hook for 2 rounds.
You said 2 rounds?
Yeah,
That's it?
It's fresh for 2 rounds. After that, the problem with Chavez Jr., if Chavez Jr. just showed up and let his balls hang and committed to it and just let his hands go, but even at his best, he didn't let his hands go a whole lot. But if he did, he could win this fight. Yeah. But he won't. That's not who he is. He has no confidence anymore. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The minute he also loses so much steam after 2 rounds. He's kind of like Mike Tyson in a lot of ways. He loses steam after a round and a half. He has a left hook that you still have to it keeps you honest. You do have to worry about that left hook, especially early. Yeah. But like he just has no confidence anymore. The minute things start going south, the minute he gets touched, he just
looking for out. Even
if he's not, I think in this fight he'll like Zab Judah used to do sometimes. He'll take his beating, but he won't let his hands go. And
I'm a speak of truth. I think this is my truth. And I'm just speaking candidly. You got a kid that's spoiled.
While many critics dismiss Julio due to his age and time away from the spotlight, he hasn't been inactive for as long as others Jake has faced. Julio has kept himself fit and closer to fight shape than most retired athletes. He's maintained training and still has sharp instincts from his years in the ring. Jake may have youth on his side, but Julio's foundation and ring awareness can't be ignored. This bout is more evenly matched than it may appear on paper.
Word on the grapevine is that Jake Paul will be fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in his upcoming fight. That is apparently going to be announced very, very soon. Now, this is actually quite an interesting one, really. Jake's going to get a lot of stick for this. It is another retired fighter. However, this is a guy that realistically has only been retired for about 4 years. He also isn't a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. Chavez Jr. is only 39 years old. The last notable fight realistically for Chavez Jr. was Danny Jacobs. That was back at the back end of 2019. So you could say that realistically the guy hasn't been fighting top competitors for about 5.5 years or so. The thing that does worry me just a little bit is that Chavez Jr. was pretty much fighting at middleweight during his, let's say, prime. And no doubt that this fight will be at cruiserweight, if not heavyweight. So good on Jake Paul for fighting someone who is semi-recently retired this time, and is actually a boxer and not an MMA fighter. But again, shame on Jake Paul for fighting someone who is considerably smaller and will likely want them to balloon up to cruiserweight. Maybe even heavyweight if Jake's sticking at this thing of he's a heavyweight now. Let me know in the comments, will you watch this if it's on Netflix and it doesn't cost any more money like the Mike Tyson fight did? Are you interested? Should Jake Paul be taking on more active professional boxers nowadays, not someone who has been retired for 4 or 5 years? I'm interested to know your opinions. Also, will this fight actually get made? Let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, save and a share, all appreciated. And if you want to be kept up to date with everything boxing, hit that follow button. Peace out.
Jeff Mayweather, known for his balanced views, believes Jake is taking a calculated gamble. He acknowledges Julio's past, but warns that time and inconsistency could work in Jake's favor. From a strategic viewpoint, Jake's team understands the value of beating a former world champion. As with Jake's previous fight against Mike Tyson, some skeptics have started calling this bout a money grab. They argue both fighters benefit regardless of the outcome and suggest the fight could be scripted. While there's no evidence supporting these claims, such theories persist.
You can't make this shit up. Guys, Jake Paul fights this weekend at the same time as UFC 317. And don't be shocked, but it's another scam. This time it's against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's 39 years old, hasn't fought in a year, and lost a boxing match to Anderson Silva, who's not even a fucking boxer and 50 years old. You guys have to know the drill by now. Take Jake Paul, minus 650, throw him in parlays, take him straight, lay the line, he's not losing. This shit's hilarious. A flat-out joke. A disgrace. But free cash is free cash. I'm not watching a second of this fight. A second. I'm just gonna watch my bets, turn green, and get paid out. Do yourself a favor. and get paid out too. Jake Paul, minus 650. Free as the air you breathe.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has made it clear that he's a lifelong boxer, not a mixed martial artist or a retired UFC star. He has taken offense to the comparison and is confident that Jake will quickly realize the difference. For Julio, this fight is not about internet fame. It's about proving that true boxing experience still matters. He views Jake as someone who has not truly been tested yet, and this is his chance to expose that. Jake Paul isn't short on confidence. He believes this bout will be a defining moment, not just for him, but for Julio as well. No other opponent has carried as much legitimacy as Julio does. This match is seen as a turning point. Either Jake proves himself or gets exposed. It's a test of endurance, skill, and mental toughness. Julio is no longer in his prime, but he's still leagues above any of Jake's former opponents.
It's not going to be me, but I'm training harder than ever. I know this is my toughest opponent yet. Maybe not the biggest name opponent yet, but it's still going to be a super, super good fight. So make sure everyone pull up Anaheim, California, Ticketmaster.com. Be there, baby.
I was going to say that, you know, do you think this is the toughest opponent? Obviously, he's still a guy who was, you know, he's not all that old. He's got a ton of fights. He's got, I think, 61 pro fights. Think this is the toughest challenge for you if you take everything into consideration?
Yeah, taking everything into consideration and how hard he's training behind the scenes, people saying that this is the most serious he's ever taken a fight, and the fact that he's a former world champion, 30-something knockouts, and I think he wants to put Mexico on his back and represent, and he doesn't want to lose to a guy like me because he knows that's going to hurt his legacy that he's built for himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jake, if you see video of him, it looks like he's training hard. I think if there's one criticism, obviously, as you know, of his that people have always said is that, hey, he doesn't train hard, doesn't work as hard as he should, but he's a guy with a lot of talent. But if he is working hard and he does still have that talent, obviously, that could make for a dangerous opponent, couldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I bring out of my opponents. You know, even when I fly sparring partners in, they go harder than they normally do with other guys because they want to prove a point because it's me. They don't want to get beat up by a guy who's only been doing this for 5 years or so. So they always bring their A game, and that's why I'm always at my best as well because I have to bring my A game every time.
Jake Paul's previous victory over Anderson Silva, a fighter Julio once lost to, has boosted his self-belief. While styles make fights and MMA fighters don't always transition well into boxing, this record comparison plays in Jake's favor. He sees it as evidence that he can outbox Julio. The logic may be flawed, but the psychological edge can be powerful going into a high-stakes bout. Things heated up during the face-off. Julio challenged Jake's record, his background, and his worthiness as a boxer. He reminded the crowd that he was winning titles when Jake was still a child, watching fights from the couch. The animosity between them seems genuine, and it has added real heat to this rivalry. For fans, that tension creates the sense that this fight could go either way.
Mira, para empezar, to start off, nunca noqueado a nadie. He's never knocked anybody out. Dime a uno que haya noqueado. Give me one name he's knocked out. Uno. Just one.
Knockout.
Es como si yo peleara con mi papá. Aunque él es mejor que yo, lo puedo noquear. It's like if I fought with my dad, you know, he's better than me, but, you know, he's just old. So, he's talking about Mike Tyson. Va a ser una buena pelea.
I'll whoop both your asses on the same night.
It's going to be a good fight.
Put both the Chavezes in there. I'll whoop senior and junior. Hey, Julio.
Cuando él nació, yo ya era campeón, dile. When you were born, I was already a champ.
There's two things you can't beat. There's two things you can't beat. Me and your drug addiction.
Surprisingly, many fans now believe Jake Paul might pull off a win. He's younger, more active, and confident. A victory over Julio would change the conversation around Jake permanently. It wouldn't just be another notch on his belt, it would validate him as a serious contender in professional boxing. That possibility has turned this fight into one of the most discussed bouts in recent memory.
Can Chavez do this? Here we go. DW at Walmart. Okay, let's see.
Logan Paul understands the seriousness of this fight, saying it's Jake's toughest challenge yet. It's not about hype this time. It's about real skill, endurance, and facing a seasoned, dangerous opponent. The biggest difference between Jake's Tyson bout and this fight is age. Mike Tyson was 58 and hadn't fought competitively in years. Julio, on the other hand, is younger, more active, and hasn't been away from the sport as long. He still possesses timing, reflexes, and power. This difference makes the Chavez fight significantly more dangerous and potentially career-defining for Jake.
Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I think it's one of his toughest fights.
It's definitely his toughest fight. Jake, I feel like, has gotten stiffed a few times this year with who his opponents were gonna be. This is what I don't understand about people hating on him. He's not fighting tomato cans. Every single person that he fought had a chance to beat him, and by the way, people believed that they were probably going to beat
every time.
This guy is a real boxer, so it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.